so we'll start with that. Any questions on the expenditures date? I know you had a couple of questions.
We're good.
Okay. And then Coventry, the traffic control order. I don't know if there's any detail around that. We should be aware of it. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I know, that's what it's up the yearly for their.
Oh, that big sale that they, yes.
Yep.
Yep. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so any questions on that from the commission?
No.
All right, and then approval of the fee increase associated with the planning of street fees and the subdivisions. I don't see Dan Power out there. Frank, is there any color you'd like to add to that?
I told Dan to go home for once and enjoy the evening. Excuse
Thank
me. This is something that dates back to 2005 that we put in place way back then to do street trees and subdivisions. And excuse me, we put an ordinance in place as part of your plat code. And then the city commission at that time adopted a resolution setting a fee of $350 per street tree. And that's 14 years ago now. So what we're finding is that through a competitive bidding process that we just did, the bids are getting up more in the 400 to 450 range. So the resolution recommends moving the fee up to $450 per tree, and then providing staff with the latitude to, based on a competitive bid result, say to the developer that, here are the bids, we need you to make up the gap. That's really what it comes down to, is taking a 14-year-old resolution fee and updating that to normal standards. We do run through what is a fully competitive bid process. This past time, I think we had 2 valid results, and we'll be planting 41 trees this spring. But what happens is if you continually go over what the developer is required to submit, then we run into a shortage at the end of a subdivision. So this would start to fill the gap as some of those subdivisions wrap up.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions on that?
Yeah, I had a question. I was curious if 450 is high enough, just because, as you noted, it's been 14 years since this was updated. Mm-hmm. And if the low bid is 407, are we going to have to revisit this again, in 2 years? Or is there a need, how often do we want to revisit this, I guess, is maybe the question.
Well, based on the bids that we've received for the past couple of plantings, 450 should be okay. We have, at least for a few years. And there's always that gap coverage that we wrote in there, as far as if the bids come in at 460, then we can go to the developer and say, here's the policy, here's the bill, competitively bid, you need to make up the gap. But we do have specifications in the code for what type of trees and size and all that. But I think Dan was pretty comfortable with the 450 for now. And if it, a few years from now, if it's not cutting it, then we'll get back together here and update the resolution.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
And we can only charge our costs. We can't. It's not for profit.
It's not for profit. It's the bid. We give a specification. Here's what we need you to do, X, Y, Z. It's turnkey service, essentially. We give them a list of species that are permitted in the right-of-way. We get a bid spread back, and it is to misdig, plant, and provide information to the property owner. So it's a complete street tree operation.
Would it make sense to increase it by the rate of inflation or anything like that every year to kind of offset having to come back?
It's unpredictable, but what we've been finding, like this past year, the bid spread for a 2.5-inch caliper red maple of some kind, which tends to be a good street tree. Those were pushing in that 400 to 450 range. But in years past, sometimes we get a good bid where they were 375. That was recently too. So a lot of times it's who responds to the bid. So I don't think you can do a linear track on the price. It's taken us a long time to get to 450 here. And I think it's just because we're at the peak of the economy cycle. Everybody's buying a lot of trees. So it's supply demand more than anything. But, that's why we put it in resolution as opposed to ordinance. You never really want to put a fee into an ordinance Because resolutions are something that we can quickly just pull up in a meeting and say, you know, here's some facts of the case, and would you entertain adjusting this resolution?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Commissioners, any other questions on that? And actually, if we're going to take a quick pause, Commissioner Gilbert, I'm going to grab that TV. Would you mind grabbing that one and let's face close to the audience quick?
Yeah, that makes sense. You're saying move farther up this wall?
All the way to the corner.
Right here? All right.
Good job.
Apologies, Commissioners, just noticed that. Representative Heisinger had that glassy-eyed look on his face. I know he was so interested in seeing. All right, next on the list, the 5 LED new light fixtures for Cambridge Grove. Any questions on those on the post tops?
I got a
Kemp?
question.
Yep.
It's just street lighting in general. I mean, we were paying 20,000 every time. Now we're up to paying 27,000. And so these lights, all right, it costs money to renew these lights and everything, but aren't we paying for more than just electric when we're paying this? That's the maintenance and everything included in this, or, you know, every time we turn around, we're adding lights, but we're also, when I look at these street lights, we're improving them to LEDs, but the cost still keeps going up. And so, basically, why would a guy want to go buy LED bulbs when it's going to cost you more? When in reality, it should be less. And some of these are, you know, renew or repairs or whatever that, you know, consumers wants the lights now, the poles on the side of the light shining out, so it's not over the middle of the road and everything. It's part of their policy, but what, you know, I can see putting streetlights in a new plat and putting streetlights up, but I guess can we get a reason why
Where the cost is not changing?
why it keeps going up?
Well, I mean, when you think of I don't know the exact number, but the new housing that we have going up in the city, that's one. Right now, I mean, we're going to the Cobra head, to the LED, I believe these are Cobra heads, if I'm not mistaken. The LED fixtures, you know, Dan, I guess I can't specifically ask why that is. I don't know specifically if they're going up, and it's the same number of lights, or it's going up because we're adding more lights in different areas.
Could I fill in some of the details? And I'm not the lighting expert, but generally speaking, I think the city made a commitment with consumers years ago, and we included some information that consumers provided us about just the benefits of LED fixtures. Remember, on an annual basis, the City Commission approves a bill for lighting, electric lighting in the city for about $250,000 to $275,000. And our goal was to work with consumers over time, convert all of our streetlight inventory to LED. The return on investment will eventually kick in, and the cost that the city pays would eventually go down. In the interim, we have new subdivisions coming online, and then we occasionally get requests for a new light like you see on Gage Street here. So you have multiple things going on with these resolutions. They just kind of all landed on one agenda. But we have Cambridge Grove going in with phase 2 of their development. So the developer pays for all of the installs, and that's everything, underground, pole, fixture, they get a bill for that. And then the city, per policy and per budgeting, will pick up the energy use. So it's definitely in the city's best interest to put LED in new. The second thing on your agenda is to add a light at Gage Street. That's a request from a resident. It's a bus stop area, And we worked with our community policing to get a feel from the school district if a light would be beneficial there. They said yes, so that's why that one's going in. It's more of a, again, another public safety issue, but that'll also be LED. And I think we're being charged $100 for that. And then last is the ongoing switch out, like Dan said, of these center mountain lights over our streets, which are difficult to maintain, to Cobra heads off the side of the streets that are also LED. And the bill for that is fairly minimal. So long-term, I think what the city is trying to do is commit to LED fixtures because they're more efficient and they last longer.
Also, I think on the LED fixtures, there's a benefit that we're seeing of when we're replacing those older lights with the newer LED, you're getting better light, you're getting it, spread in a better way. So on the public safety side and on the comfort side for those who are, going underneath them, I think we're seeing a benefit there as well.
No, I know there's good things about LEDs and you can see better and everything else, but I just, probably in the last year, I think our electric bill went up $7,000, so to multiply that times 12 and,
So you're saying you're seeing that on the electric bill itself, right?
yeah, when you watch consumers, it's, it used to be 20,000. Now we're, I'm looking, and so I think it was like 23,000 we paid them this time or whatever. So there's 22,000 here, 1,000 there, and different things. So I just, I would think LEDs, yeah, there's a cost of putting them up, but I thought we were already agreed that there's something in place for that and to have that program there and then, but must be the electric's really going up, I guess. Thanks, Frank.
Sure.
I have a question, Frank. Can you track the usage? I mean, can we tell, could you be able to differentiate between an increase in wattage or however they measure that over the last 5 years or something? And can you pull out the new ones added or like, are we being more efficient and is it just higher cost or?
Let me do a little bit of research with Dan DeVries on that.
Okay.
And see how contractually we're charged. I believe these are unmetered, and we pay per fixture.
Oh, okay.
So let
So
me
that
get
would-
some details and report back to you on that one, if that's okay.
Yeah.
But our long-term direction, I think, correctly, is to let's switch out to LED, and then eventually the ROI will kick in, and our costs should go down. We've noticed that on the city-owned facilities already that we've converted to LED, we do receive a return on that investment. They just don't use as much energy, and like Steve said, the lighting is just superior, and it's directional.
Right.
The fixtures are very bright if you look right at them, and they're still evolving. We'll eventually get to a shoebox type fixture where the lighting fixtures are shielded. They're coming around. If you look right at the light, it's very bright.
Right.
But if you stand back and you look at the cone, you can direct that light very well, so it's not just bleeding out into everywhere.
Light pollution.
Yeah.
So for the mayor's benefit, I'll let you know, we've worked ourselves through all of the lighting items, and I think we're down to the transfer
Thank
of
you.
jurisdiction.
All right. Travis, would you mind taking us through that then? And I think as Travis comes up to kind of set the table for this, this is something that has been on the horizon for a while, and I want to tee up, so this shouldn't be a surprise for us that we're looking at making that final connection there and taking that on, so.
Yeah, we're finally getting to the point of formalizing a discussion that's been going on for a few years. So the Cambridge Grove subdivision is west of Wilson off of Richmond, and they've done phase 1 and phase 1A, and they're getting to a point where they've got enough houses in their subdivision now where they need a secondary access point. That secondary access point comes in the form of phase 2, and they're going to connect down to Kennewa Avenue. So Kennewa south of Richmond right now is a dirt road under the jurisdiction of the Ottawa County Road Commission. So over the last few years, there's been talks between our city staff here at Walker, the Ottawa County Road Commission, and the developer about does it make sense to transfer jurisdiction of this 760-foot road? And through the course of those discussions, the answer was yes, it does make sense. We don't want an arbitrary line in the road where we stop plowing snow and Ottawa County has to pick that up, and we stop our paving and they pick it up. Because if you're living in the neighborhood, you're going to use both access points. So to create some efficiencies in the operations and maintenance, we talked with the Ottawa County Road Commission, and they offered to transfer the jurisdiction ownership over to us. In order to accomplish that, it's kind of a three-step process where Walker passes a resolution, Ottawa County Road Commission passes a resolution, and then we both sign this agreement. As far as the timing goes, you have the resolution before you today to consider this and to accept it and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. Ottawa County Road Commission it's on their agenda for Thursday to do their resolution and signing of the agreement. Once the agreement's fully signed, it'll come over to our jurisdiction. And quite honestly, that allows us to then inspect the fully improved road that will be put in as phase 2 goes on for development. And it seems like we're about a week or two out from our pre-construction, or probably about 2 weeks out from our pre-construction meeting for phase 2. So the timing's lining up pretty nicely for this. So that's what's before you this evening.
Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Kent?
So Kennewa Avenue south of Richmond is Ottawa County. Kennewa Avenue north of Richmond is the city of Walker.
Ottawa County, as I understand it.
That little,
So,
You're talking about the road headed north there on the county line?
so
Yeah, I
it's
just-
Lincoln Street on one side, Richmond Street on the other.
Oh, you're talking about the intersection?
I'm talking about so I'm saying, so Ottawa County is going to come up to Lincoln, bring Lincoln Street up to Kennewa, and then proceed north?
Kennewa north of Richmond is Ottawa County. I was just looking into that this week.
So, okay. And then it says future Kennewa Avenue at the south end of our map here.
Yeah, that actually,
That's all in our jurisdiction then?
yeah, that curves back into Walker there. So there is a little triangular piece on the west side there by the place of ending on the map that once we transfer jurisdiction and the road's built, we will have to give that little triangle piece back to the nursery, vacate it, just because of how the road right away right now is rectangular and linear, and the Kennewa Avenue is going to have a curve in it. So there is that stuff that'll be taken care of through the plat development process, or the site condo development process.
So that's not going to be a future connection to Gordonshire Drive?
Yeah, so that's that gets into, so it says on this drawing you've got future Kennewa Avenue and future Gordonshire Drive. Both of those are part of phase 2 of this development. So those roads will be built as part of the development and connect into Kennewa there.
So that still holds. There's still a future connection there with that development.
Yeah, we'll accept jurisdiction, well, assuming everything's approved, the city will take jurisdiction, within the next week or two here. And then as the developer they're going to expand Gordonshire down to Kennewa. So where it says future Gordonshire Drive, that's part of phase 2 of the development. Where it says future Kennewa Avenue, that's part of phase 2 of the development. And then the existing Kennewa Avenue right away is also part of phase 2 of the development. So this is labeled as future just because it's using existing right-of-way lines on it. But the future is very near.
So would Barlow Street still connect into Kennewa if we didn't do this?
The Barlow Street's a paper street on our file, so yeah, it's still out there, but you wouldn't know it, walking out
Okay,
there.
so where's the connection from the new development come in here at?
The future Gordonshire Drive and the future Kennewa Avenue will be built as part of phase 2 of the development, and that'll tie into the future Kennewa Avenue will tie right into the current Kennewa Avenue right away. So even though the drawing says future, that's part of phase 2 of the development. Fully improved streets will be there. Yep.
and that's where Gordonshire and Kennewa are meeting at the bottom of
Yeah.
that
So
picture.
if you maybe it helps to kind of think through it now. Right now, Gordonshire comes down in cul-de-sacs. That's going to continue, to the west, and then it'll connect into Kennewa there, and then Kennewa will run north up to Richmond. So all of that will be fully improved as part of phase 2.
So I'm trying to see what the benefit is for taking over that street. Richmond Street, these houses are lots 1, 2, 3 through 6. They have access out to Richmond Street with the Richmond Street address. Lots 22 through 18, Barlow Street is a paper street, so there's not a street. So basically, lot 22 would have access to Kennewa. And then down south of Barlow would be 1940 Kennewa Avenue. That has access. But 4751 Port Street, I get, at this point, what is existing and what is future, and
Yeah, so these maps are using, so this is the legal description of the map, and so it has paper streets on there, it has old plat lot lines that exist on paper, but not in reality, and it might be kind of difficult to see, but all of those numbers, 1 through 6, 22 through, then down to 17, and 1 through 4 there in the Barlow Street, so I understand, that's the old plat, the old Barlow plat that's underlying there. And it looks like there's some darker lines drawn. So like lots 1, 2, 22, and 21 are probably one lot. Lots 3, 4, 20, 19, and half of 18 are another lot. You can kind of see where those lines are drawn in there. So I wouldn't get too bogged down in the lot numbers that are there from the Barlow side, because that's an old plat process. Actually, this Cambridge Grove development kind of ate up a lot of these old plats that were just kind of on paper there. Incorporate them into their site condo. The biggest thing to think is where it says future Gordonshire Drive, that'll be paved as part of phase 2. Future Kennewa Avenue, headed to the north there off of Gordonshire, will be paved as part of phase 2. And all of the dirt road of Kennewa Avenue that we're talking about transferring the jurisdiction for today will be paved as part of phase 2. So there'll be a seamless paved road as part of phase 2 that'll connect all the way out to Richmond Street through Kennewa.
but bringing this road, the city of Walker accepts this portion of the road, and this Ottawa County relieves themselves of this section of road. It's all part of phase 2.
This is needed, this is part of the development agreement that we've worked out for phase 2 of Cambridge Grove, yes. So once we have jurisdiction over it, then the developer doesn't have to go to Ottawa County Road Commission to get a permit. And he's operating under our permit with our standards and our specs to build the public road to City of Walker standards.
Can I try to help you
So
out?
if we approve phase 2,
Yes.
Yes.
then why isn't the connections already made and it's saying future? Why not put this into the future with that? You see what I'm
Frank,
saying?
could
You got 2 points. You got one here and you got one here as future.
Yeah.
If it's all part of the same agreement, it should all be the same, wouldn't it?
Well, let me, can I give a little bit of history? And I think that'll explain where we're going with this whole Kennewa connection thing. Cambridge Grove was a 5-phase development. It's a planned unit development. So the Planning Commission and the City Commission have both approved the overall development plan. That includes a whole bunch of units. It's 300 something, I think, by the time it builds out, but in 5 phases. We're only on phase 2 now, but the agreement that's been reached since phase 1 came in was a threshold will be reached in phase 2, and there will need to be redundant connection from Kennewa to Richmond, just to provide more than one means of getting in and out of the development. So that time is now. They've come into phase 2, and the Planning Commission and City Commission, through the site condo process, have both said it's time to make that Kennewa connection. So that's why we're here, at this level of accepting the right-of-way. And Kennewa will not only function as a redundant access, it'll also be a frontage for quite a few of the future phases, 3, 4, and 5. So the document may be a little bit confusing, but I think what Travis is trying to say is this is something that's been planned all along, and maybe that you folks have approved all along as well. And maybe the document is a little bit confusing, but the acceptance of the right-of-way is just the continuation of the project, where there is no street right now. So the project is to formalize Kennewa as a Walker Street, becomes part of our Act 51 role, and it also provides secondary ingress egress for the project.
Which will be a tremendous help for us with Wilson and Richmond and helping alleviate some of the challenges we've had there.
Yeah, I apologize if the document is a little confusing on how it says, but if we look at it, Kennewa Avenue to, if this gets passed within the next week, or at the end of this week, Kennewa Avenue will be the city of Walkers, that box that's on the paper in front of you. And everywhere it says future Cambridge Grove or future Gordonshire Drive or future Kennewa Avenue, that future means phase 2 of the development. And that future, like we said, the pre-construction meeting is probably about 2 weeks off. So it's the very near future connections. Yep.
So this is being consistent with what you folks have been approving since, I think phase 1 went in 2007. It was pre-recession. So now it's the paperwork exercise of accepting the right-of-way for Kennewa.
Anything else, Commissioner Kent?
I'm just having trouble with piecemeal, but I guess this is a piece to the puzzle we got to put together. But thank you.
Commissioners, anything else? Are we comfortable, we're just a few minutes before 7. Frank, do you have enough working knowledge? I don't know we need to keep Travis here all night unless anybody objects to that. Are we good cutting you loose?
Good, great.
Cool. Thank you, Travis. All right, folks, we're going to take advantage of a couple minutes here. We've got a lot of people out in the hallway, so I'm going to grab the doors here if we're all right with that. And we'll start back up here at 7 o'clock then. Call to order. Welcome, everyone. What we'll do is I'll ask Commissioner Gruters to deliver the invocation for us this evening.
Join me in prayer, please. Father God, thank you for this beautiful day and all that we have to celebrate. Thank you for our country and the freedom and opportunities that we enjoy. We pray for those who are suffering around this world tonight, that they will feel your grace and comfort. Continue to protect the great staff of Walker, especially all of our public safety workers. Thank you that we can gather this evening to do this work on behalf of our community. Please guide our conversations and give us understanding as we make decisions and work together for the good of all of our residents. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. And I'd like to ask everyone to rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If I could ask the clerk to please call the roll. Present.
Commissioner Kent?
Present.
Commissioner Gilbert?
Present.
Commissioner Glanville?
Present.
Commissioner DeShane?
Present.
Commissioner Gruters?
Present.
And Commissioner Howland?
Present.
Thank you.
And I will look for an approval of the minutes from the April 8th and April 15th meetings.
I'll make that motion. I'll
Motion from
support.
Commissioner Howland, support from Commissioner DeShane. Any other conversation? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. We'll now open this up for public comment on any agenda items this evening. All right, super. We'll take a pass on that one. All right, presentations and proclamations. Chief Long, you are up.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Thanks for this opportunity. As you all know, it's always a privilege to come before you for this special ceremony where we get to swear in one of our new officers. So tonight's event is with our newest officer, Nicole Kremers. I'll give you just a little background on her, and I'm going to let her fill in the blanks that I miss, right? So Nicole comes to us after attending Calvin College. She has a degree in sociology and a minor in psychology. Comes in very handy on the road, doesn't it?
Yes.
So after that, she attended Grand Valley State University's Police Academy, graduating from there and immediately going to work with the Sparta Police Department. She was with the Sparta Police Department 3 years before coming to our agency in January of this year, and she's nearing the completion of her field training process. So pretty soon you'll see her out and about by herself. Something unique I'm going to share, probably you can expound on a little bit, that she's one of three triplet girls, as you can see probably. They all look very similar, so it's kind of neat. I'll let her get into that. But what I would like to do is start off by talking to you directly, Nicole, about what we're doing this evening. And the symbolism of receiving the badge is going to remain one of the highlights of your career. It's going to be always deep-rooted in your service mantra, but it also goes way back into long-standing traditions. So it's much bigger than the act of receiving this badge this evening. So when you receive this badge, you're accepting the oath of honor when you raise your right hand and swear to diligently protect the rights of all citizens through your unbiased, personal, and compassionate service. Our department's vision statement states the following: we will be an organization devoted to customer satisfaction and the principles of quality leadership. I would encourage you not to look at this statement as simply rhetoric, but more importantly, a mission for you to always remember as a Walker police officer, to ingrain as part of your mindset and policing service philosophy. The Walker Police Badge presented to you this evening should serve as a constant reminder of this vision. The badge represents the people we are sworn to serve and protect. It identifies you as the protector of peace and the defender of evil. As a Walker police officer, you will be held to a higher ethical standard than those you will be serving, not because you're any better than anyone else, but for what the Walker Police Badge represents. And it represents honor, dignity, integrity, truth, and justice. All ideals you should strive for daily. I encourage you not to let your ego or your personal agenda dictate your character, as you run the risk of superseding the responsibility that is represented by the privilege of wearing the police badge. So you see, the police badge is much more than a symbol of authority to be worn on your uniform. It will be your constant reminder of the commitment of service you're accepting to become a Walker police officer. Lastly, remember to stay grounded, humble, and dedicated to serving in this noblest of professions. With all this being said, it is now my distinct pleasure to officially welcome you to the Walker Police Department with the official swearing in and acceptance of the oath of office, conferring to you this authority as a Walker police officer. So if you please raise your right hand, and I'm going to ask you at the very end to state I do. As a Walker police officer, you are to act as an official representative of our city and required and trusted to work within the law. Your powers and duties as a police officer are conferred upon you by the state of Michigan by statute. Your fundamental duties as an officer include serving the community, safeguarding lives and property, protecting the innocent, keeping the peace, and ensuring the rights of all to liberty, equality, and justice. Our expectations are that you should perform your duties impartially, without favor or affection or ill will, and without regard to status, sex, race, relation, political belief, or aspiration. All citizens will be treated equally with courtesy, consideration, and dignity. Do you swear to perform these duties?
I do.
If I can get you to sign right there. And this evening, Nicole is going to receive the badge pinning by her sister, and we'll have her come up and do the official act. You know what I did? I got this stuck already. There you go.
Thank you.
Very good. It's my privilege to welcome Officer Nicole Kremers to our agency.
I just want to say thank you to the people who have helped me get here today to where I am. I have a lot of people here who have helped support me, my professors, my old chief, my old coworkers, and I really am thankful that the Walker Police Department, as well as the City of Walker, has accepted me to work in this police department and serve this community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicole. And we have a long-standing tradition here. We ask you to make the lap around up here so all the city commissioners can wish you well. So. All right. Thank you, Chief. You still have the floor.
Sure. It's also my privilege tonight to introduce to you one of our newest volunteer patrol personnel. So if Matt could come up. It's always a privilege to introduce those that volunteer their time for the community, for the department, for the city. And as I spoke about at our last award ceremony, I said something to the effect of the volunteers don't necessarily volunteer for the time, they volunteer because of the heart. So nothing is more true than this unit here of our group of volunteer patrol. So it's always a pleasure to welcome new people into the unit, and I want to share with you who Matt is. So Matt comes to us upon the very strong prompting of one of our members, Bob Ungry. Bob is here this evening too. All of our volunteers are ambassadors of the program, and they go out and do a fantastic job of promoting the program and getting the word out that if anybody's interested in joining us, come on board. So that's Bob. I think took a little while for Bob to convince you, but it'll work out. He promised you things. I'm sure he's going to pay up. Yeah. So Matt's history is this. He previously taught 5th grade at St. Anthony's School. In 2017, he retired from Spectrum Health as a medical planner after a 30-year career there. He currently works as a medical equipment consultant independently, and his previous volunteer experiences include numerous medical mission trips to Mexico, as well as a high school coach. Matt resides in the first ward of the city with his wife Mary, and he enjoys golf and traveling, which includes visiting their 2 adult sons and families who reside in Chicago. For those of you that aren't too familiar with what our volunteer program entails, I'll give you just a quick little oversight. Some of the duties that our volunteers perform for us, amongst the many, include they're out patrolling the parking lots for handicap parking violations, fire lane parking violations. You'll see their unit out there, just making sure that those laws are adhered to. We empower them and we give them the authority to take action on that, but they do a fantastic job of that. And the majority of their time, all they're doing is going out and reminding the drivers and those that are violating that law to kindly comply. But they can issue tickets, so be aware. But they also do school visits daily. So each one of our public school buildings and our privates and our charter schools get a daily visit from a uniformed officer, whether it be our patrol officers, but also part of the volunteer patrol. They come in and visit the school children and walk the school halls as if just as the officers do. They do administrative support for the department and the court, which is attached to the department. They assist at most of our city-sponsored events. So if you see a city-sponsored event, you will see one of our volunteers or many of our volunteers at that. They also assist our community resource officer with numerous events specific to the department. They do vacation house checks for residents that are gone for extended periods of time, and amongst many other duties and tasks that we ask them to do. So some of the qualities we look for when we ask or have a volunteer come on board with us is we hold them the same standards we do our officers and all of our full-time staff. So we ask for their loyalty to the department, the community, and the standards of excellence established by our department are adhered to. We ask them to demonstrate an unwavering high ethical foundation and integrity while representing this unit and our department. And we also mandate that they treat each other and all citizens with respect, dignity, and compassion at all times. So some notes of interest from our units report. If you read the annual report, you'll see that our volunteer unit logged over 900 hours of volunteer hours last year alone, and that's amongst 6 individuals primarily. So I did a little research for you. So the last consensus of the value of a volunteer puts the dollar amount between $25, $26 an hour per hour for a volunteer. So I did my math real quick, and we owe everybody about $24,000. So, and for you guys, the check's in the mail. That's what I tell them every time. So with that, it's my privilege to introduce Matt and let him share a few words with you.
When Bob asked me to become a volunteer, I've done a lot of volunteer work, and usually if you're going to be a volunteer, pretty much they'll take any warm body, But then I took a patrol with Bob, and I saw what he did and what he's doing and the respect that the officers have when we go into the police department or if we're on the road and an officer drives by, you get the wave. which is really cool. But what really impressed me was last week, I was sworn in at the city clerk's office. How many of you have seen the book you sign when you do that? Do you know that that book dates back to 1884? The history is unbelievable. And to me, you mentioned loyalty and you mentioned a lot of other things. Those are things that, this is, what I hope to be able to do for years to come. Unfortunately, my wife can't be here today. We have 2 children that live in Chicago, and at 5 o'clock this afternoon, my daughter-in-law gave birth to my 3rd grandson. So my wife is on the road down there crying on the way to Chicago, and I'm going to join her later. So, but thank you very much for this honor. I greatly appreciate it.
I think, Mr. Meyer, the example you just gave, the selfless sacrifice of having to conquer and divide there, and one heads one direction and one heads the other, is, I think, very symbolic of what our departments, both police and fire, go through in that call to service and duty. So we are very grateful. Thank you. On behalf of the commission, whether there's a gun on that belt or a cell phone, you are still a face of the city, and we love having you out there, and thank you for the service and the commitment. And again, because that uniform is no different than Nicole, we'd love to have you come up and shake your hand. So. All right, next on our list here, as all good things usually start with a conversation with me with the beverage in hand. I saw Andy Beach now walk in just a short while ago, and I know he can't hide back there, but Andy is head of student housing out at Grand Valley, and Andy and I were at a wedding a couple months ago, and we were in the corner, and I was sharing with him how I had went back to Grand Valley to finish my bachelor's, and kind of the story behind it, and everybody has their Haas story, and I was sharing mine with Andy, and as we were sitting there solving the world's problems, Andy, I want to give him all the due credit for this. It just suggested, well, hey, you're a mayor now, you could make a proclamation, and it sounded like a really good idea, and the more we thought about it, that's kind of where we're at. So I actually have a proclamation from myself and the city of Walker here that I'll read. We have privilege to have our state senator Pete McGregor here, state representative Mark Huizenga, our former mayor, retired state representative Rob Verheulen, our former mayor as well. And I see Andrew Johnson from the Rapid here as well, who has been a tremendous partner of the city, not just on the Laker line, but our continued growth needs in the city. So I'll read my proclamation, and then I'll ask our members of the state legislature to come up to the podium, and they'll read theirs, and we'll take a quick pause for a pitch or so here a second then. So whereas because of the outstanding contributions that retiring President Thomas J. Haas has made to the city of Walker, its employees, residents, businesses, and other organizations, he is deserving of special recognition from our city leaders. And whereas it is fitting and proper to honor this outstanding servant leader to our community as he approaches his retirement from Grand Valley State University, and whereas over 1/3 of the employees of the city of Walker have attended, graduated from, or have had a family member affiliated with Grand Valley State University, including more than half of our current Walker City Commission. And whereas President Haas has made the highest priority of enriching students' learning, their careers, and has given the Walker community's distinguished graduates known as Lakers for Life. And whereas an inclusive community environment that celebrates diversity that we can all learn from has been a culture tirelessly championed by President Haas. And whereas the endless community partnerships that have grown as a result of the efforts of President Haas have directly impacted the city of Walker in areas like the Lake of Line project. And whereas we would like to take this opportunity to graciously thank President Thomas J. Haas for all that he has done to impact the Walker community in ways that we see today and in ways that we'll see in the years to come. Now therefore, I, Gary L. Carey Jr., Mayor of the City of Walker, do hereby proclaim Monday, April 22nd, 2019 as President Thomas J. Haas Day in the City of Walker. I ask the City of Walker to join family, friends, students, faculty, and staff in offering President Haas and his wife Marcia best wishes for an enjoyable retirement. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Walker to be affixed this 22nd day of April 2019. Neat little story. I had my oldest son, I should say, that graduated from Grand Valley State University, had also attended the police academy as a great deal of our police force. And President Haas had given a story during Alex's graduation from the police academy, having a father, a grandfather, might be an uncle in there too, a lot of family history with the New York Police Department. And it was a really cool story, and it was one that moved everybody in the crowd emotionally. So fast forward from there, about a month later, we happened to be filling in at a meeting for then Mayor Huizenga at a Metro Council meeting. And as we know, President Haas' schedule, I actually got about 10, 15 minutes with him without anybody else in the room. So we had a nice chat, and we were just, he'd asked what my story was and getting to know me a bit. And I was sharing with him the story about the police academy and not just one officer, but two in my family. And so as we were talking about it, he had talked about, why don't you go back and finish? So I just think that motivation, and I went to see him put me in a nice leadership program, and I'm on that path to finish. But I think when we were putting the agenda together for tonight, there's some symbolism in here. I spoke with Chief Long and with our clerk as we were putting this together, and we elected to put our police officer swearing in first because of the symbolism, knowing how much that runs in your family and the importance of that. So wanted to share that. Our legislators, would you like to come up and read, and then we'll take a pause after that and grab a few pictures then.
Mayor Carey, Commissioners, it's wonderful to be here with you tonight. I just have a few comments I'd like to share about Tom Haas, and I think about Tom in two categories. As president of Grand Valley, as really a strong community leader and as a community advocate. And we think of him as a Grand Valley State University president and lots of accomplishments he has there. He's been a strong supporter for the Laker line, as you mentioned, Mayor. But when you think about him as a community advocate, I think a lot of what he's done and continues to do is a little bit under the wire. I think about one of the first events that I had that was really public, and that was a fundraising event for the tunnel that went under Lake Michigan Drive. Now, we didn't have to be there, but Tom Haas was there because he stands for our community, and he knows what's important and how to build strong community. I sit on the Appropriations Committee for the subcommittee for higher education, and have had the privilege of seeing Tom Haas in Lansing a couple times, and to see him advocate. He's not just there as the president advocating for Grand Valley State University. He's there advocating for those students. And we see a lot of testimony, and none is compelling or more motivational or from the heart than that Tom Haas gives. And when you think about Grand Valley and their growth and how he's advocate for the capital outlay, and today as I drove down Michigan Street due to the detour, I saw the new building coming up and the appropriation that's going to that new building, and I thought about tonight and the impact that Tom Haas has had on our community from both Grand Valley, out in Allendale, downtown Grand Valley, along Michigan Street, the advocacy that he's done for the healthcare community and everything else. It's just really impressive, and so I offer my best wishes to Dr. Haas, President Haas, as he moves into retirement. I'd like to turn over to Senator McGregor.
Thank you, Mark. I kind of feel like I'm the odd man out with the two former mayors here, but I too at one time sat on higher ed, and having Dr. Haas, T. Haas, come and testify was amazing, because he always pointed out that it's unfortunate that our universities are all funded differently, but probably one of the least funded, but has the best outcomes out of all our universities in this state. So it's pretty proud moment to be part of West Michigan and having him say those type of things, and also sitting on those committees to have him come in front of us. But what we decided to do is, I think it was the mayor's idea, but along with Robert Hewlin and Representative Heisinger, I was going to say for Hewlin again, Heisinger. I apologize.
This is a very confusing.
Yes, it is. We put together a State of Michigan tribute for Thomas J. Haas. And I'm going to read with it, and bear with me, because this gentleman has done a lot of things over the past few years, and I'll read a little bit of this. It says, "Let it be known that it is the privilege to join with others in honoring Thomas J. Haas on the occasion of his retirement from serving as president of Grand Valley State University. His record of many years of exemplary service as president and many other roles he has filled have set an impressive example to others to follow. In 1973, Thomas Haas was an honors graduate of the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. Then he earned his Master's of Science in Chemistry and another in Environmental Health Sciences from the University of Michigan. He also holds an MS in Human Resource Management and a PhD in Chemistry from the University of Connecticut. His fellowship experiences in higher ed include Yale University Faculty Fellow and an American Council of Education Fellow at Western Michigan University. He completed executive leadership programs at Harvard University, as well as being recently recognized with an honorary degree as a Doctor of Science by Kingston University in the UK, and a second from Krakow University of Economics in Poland. He is also a retired captain from over 23 years of commissioned service in the United States Coast Guard." I wish I did at least one of those things in my life. Holy smokes. So in addition to his more than impressive career in higher education, Thomas Haas is also active in the community by serving on a number of boards, including the Michigan Campus Compact, Talent 2025, Van Andel Institute Graduate School, Spectrum Health Hospital, Citizens Research Council of Michigan, Grand Rapids Medical Education and Research Center, The Right Place, Economic Club of Grand Rapids, What Next for Grand Rapids, and Opera Grand Rapids. He is a member of the Grand Rapids Rotary Club, a consultant and evaluator of the North Central Association High Learning Commission, and the immediate past chair of Division II NCAA and member of the Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. He is also a former chair of the Michigan Public University President's Council. That's a lot of achievements. That's awesome. I'm very glad to call you a friend, T. Haas. He also, and it's not written in this, he also put two of my boys, men now, on the straight and narrow, because they're two graduates of they're Lakers and two graduates of Grand Valley. So in special tribute, therefore, this document is signed and dedicated to honor Thomas J. Haas upon his well-deserved retirement. We thank him for his commitment that he has shown to the work being done at Grand Valley State University, and we wish him many years of health and happiness with his wife, Marcia, his 3 children, 4 grandchildren, and their friends. And this is signed by Representative Mark Heisinger from the 74th District, myself, Senator Peter McGregor from the 28th District, as well as the Governor Gretchen Whitmer from the great state of Michigan. So with that, from the 100th Legislature, we'd love to give you this special tribute, sir.
And I think President Haas, as we're come there, I'd ask our Mayor Pro Tem, who's a recent graduate in Laker for Life. We were talking just a little while ago, earlier today, about the impact and some of your memories as well. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit.
Yeah, I'm happy to, and I'm not so much with the anecdotes like our mayor is, but and on some of the broader strokes, just the impact that you've had on all the students that have come through Grand Valley has just been really profound, and I don't think I have ever seen a university where the president has such a direct connection with the student body. So I just wish you all the best as you move on to your next phase of life and next step in that journey. And we will miss you there over at Grand Valley.
Well, good. Couple of comments, please.
Yes. First off, congratulations. That was great. And as mentioned, my dad and grandfather were NYPD, so excellent. I didn't become a police officer. My son flew Northern Watch on a 15. He's now retired from the Air Force. And my other son was a boarding officer during 9/11 on the East Coast. So it's in our DNA, and our daughter was in the Navy, nuclear Navy actually, and point of pride with her is that the valves on the Ford aircraft carrier are her design. They were tested and now installed on the Ford aircraft carrier. So we have that service in our DNA, and Marcia's dad was a retired colonel in the Air Force, Battle of the Bulge, actually, a survivor. So Marcia's here too representing. But just one if I may, say thank you for this. Outstanding to be part of this community and to be recognized with this type of perspective. We together are serving the citizens of the state of Michigan, of this nation, and the rest of the world too, for that matter, with the students that we have at Grand Valley. We're serving them because we're stewards of the place that we call home. This is, at the end of the day, is home. We need to be good neighbors with the city of Walker across the state of Michigan. I now have a home in Rockford. I'm a neighbor with the senator, and pleased with that. But for 13 years at Grand Valley, we've extended our family significantly of individuals here that look and say, you're friends, you're neighbors. We are pleased to be part of this as a university, to be part of Walker in many regards. And I do think that the notion of service and leadership and being good stewards of the place as we do that, making it better for the current citizens, and more importantly, the future citizens of the city of Walker, of Michigan, for that matter. So I am so thrilled to accept this on behalf of the now almost 25,000 students and the numbers of faculty and staff that also call Walker home too, and call Michigan home, and probably over 50,000 alums living right here in the Tri-County region. As well, we'll have over 120,000. I'm going to shake hands next week with about 3,500 new Lakers for a lifetime. All individuals who have chosen us to come to Grand Valley. And again, as I started, we need to be good stewards of the place, but we also need to be good stewards of the people that we represent. And I want to thank you for the service that you have provided to all of us so that we have a safe environment to live and work and play, and to have a community and a region of the state that's vibrant and vital because of our collective leadership. So from my heart, thank you.
So one last statistic. We'll give you a standing ovation here. Seeing Andrew Johnson sitting here, this is kind of a drop the mic type of a number. The Grand Valley students that actually go through Standale per year, Andrew, I believe it's 1.3 to 1.4 million student rides per year through our city. We don't have problems. The kids, some live in our city. They all spend money in our city. You know, frequenting the stores, the restaurants, and so forth. And again, the impact is just profound in so many ways. So again, thank you for your service, and we do wish you the best in retirement. So
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
good, thank you. The commission will indulge us for a quick 30 seconds or a minute or so.
The wife.
There you go.
taller. Thanks again, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'll be so proud when you see you walk across that stage. Thank you.
So good to see you. Congratulations. Thank you for everything.
Now, you think I take selfies? He's the king.
Can I get a more formal one? You guys all together, just back up, button up, whatever. Wonderful. Oh, that's so nice. Get the City of Walker sign in the background there. That would be pretty cool. Commissioners too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. The invitation.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Gary.
All right, commissioners, thank you for indulging us on that one. All right, next on the list is a proclamation. I'll work through with us on the National Day of Prayer, asking the commission for approval on this. Whereas each year by law, the president issues a proclamation designating the first Thursday in May as a National Day of Prayer, we offer our prayers for the military, serving tirelessly in foreign lands, protecting the freedoms and truths that we often take for granted. We pray for the veterans who have served, protected our freedoms, and provided us with liberty, and particularly for those who have made the supreme sacrifice for our country. We pray for our public safety workers who work tirelessly to keep us safe. We pray for our educators. May they provide guidance and equip the next generation with knowledge. We pray for those who are sick, those who are afflicted with chronic disease, and we offer our petitions for peace for those who are nearing the end of their lives. We pray for those around the world who are persecuted, for those who are in the midst of civil war, and for refugees who have no place to call home. We pray for the clergy who lead our congregations in this city, in this state, and this country. We pray for the people around our country joining together, representing many denominations, offering prayers on this National Day of Prayer. We pray that this nation will join together and pray for our fellow residents, support one another, recognize and embrace our differences. With special thanks and recognition for the pastors who attend the City of Walker National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving event to be held on the second day of May, the year of our Lord 2019. I urge our residents of the City of Walker to join me in observing this day of prayer and thanksgiving, paying special attention to our leaders in the federal, state, county, and local governments. We pray that the wisdom of Solomon is bestowed upon each leader, that they may represent their people and that they may serve their office with dignity in the heart of a servant. Now therefore I, Gary Carey Jr., Mayor of the City of Walker, Michigan, do hereby proclaim Thursday, May 2nd, 2019, our day of prayer and thanksgiving. We'll actually be holding the event at noon on May 2nd for those able to make it. I believe if the weather is permitting, we'll be out near the flagpole out front, or we'll be in the commission chambers, either or. So, and I was hoping to get some brownie points. I haven't got out my reading glasses yet tonight, so I'm doing pretty good. So, Sarah, do we need anything on these by chance? We're good? Okay. All right. City manager.
Okay, well, I'm sitting in for Daryl tonight. And this topic under city manager, the updated emergency management agreement with Kent County, we talked about as part of your committee from 4 till around 6. So some of you were there. And this, as I understand it, is the same agreement we've always had with Kent County, but updated for a new mayor, some new commissioners, and some changes at the staff level. Otherwise, it'll be the same process, same procedures, subject to some of the things we talked about as far as building a database to be able to respond during emergency events. But I think this is pretty much an administrative item. And Mr. Mayor, if you could help me out on that, but I think it's pretty much just that.
So we had a great exercise with our public safety personnel. Glad to see representation from the county this afternoon as well. And what drove this was after the ice storm, or I would say in the midst of the ice storm, I think that first phone call at whatever it was, 4 or so in the morning, I'm out of the country and it's okay, now our backup server's gone down at City Hall. And so everybody has a plan until they kind of get punched in the mouth. We got punched in the mouth that morning. So, part of this is what are our processes, what do we do? And I think that realization of we need to make sure that we're continually updating these and adjusting for any potential chances to further protect our community and be better prepared. So there's a lot of takeaways from that. And we've also had personnel changes. We've had personnel changes here in the city. We've had some personnel changes with the county, new emergency manager director. So we saw, Lieutenant Hunt this afternoon here, and good to get a name and a face as well. So that all being said, basically what we are going through here is a update of the agreement that's already in place. There's no change to the agreement other than updated personal information of contact information that's kept with the city and the county. There are some small little details that just are being updated as part of an existing agreement. So at this point, we are going to need approval on that agreement, but I do want to open it up before we take a motion for any further discussion on this. Commissioners, we're good? Commissioner Kent, good? All right, then I will entertain a motion to approve the updates to the emergency management agreement with Kent County.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll support it.
We have a second from Commissioner Kent, motion from Commissioner Howland. Any further discussion on this? We're good. Shares in the amount of $777,000, $485.24. And then we have a traffic control order for a large neighborhood sale on Coventry Drive. That's an annual traffic control order that we go through. So any questions or discussion on those two items? All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval on those.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion from Commissioner Gruder, support from Commissioner Gilbert. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, consent agenda is passed. Thank you. So we'll jump into our resolutions. We do need to go one by one on these because they are different resolution numbers. The first one is Resolution 19-512. This is the approval of the fee increase associated with planting street trees and subdivisions in accordance with Section 74-90.1 of the Code of Ordinances. And this is basically just as the cost of planting street trees has increased for us. We're just keeping pace with that, so we're not planting these at a loss. So I know we discussed this in our committee the whole meeting at 6:30. Open this up for any conversation or questions on this. All right, be happy to entertain a motion to approve this then.
I'll make a motion, we approve Resolution 19-512, increasing street tree escrow.
Thank you. We have a motion from Commissioner Kent. Do we have a support?
I'll support.
We have support from Commissioner Glanville. Any other further discussion on it? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. All right, Resolution 19-513 to approve Cambridge Grove Phase 2 installation of 5 new LED fixtures on the post tops. Commission, thank you for, as I was out of the room for a minute at 6:30, discussing these, so I appreciate that. Any discussion or question on 19-513? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve then.
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Commissioner DeShane.
I'll support.
Support from Commissioner Gruders. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passed. We are on Resolution 19-514 to approve the consumer's energy installation of new LED streetlight and pole located at 677 Gage Street Northwest. Any questions or dialogue around 19-514? Be happy to entertain a motion to approve that then.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Commissioner Gilbert. Do I have support?
Support.
Support from Commissioner Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Next on the item on the list is Resolution 19-515 to approve removal of Consumers Energy General Service unmetered lighting at 13 different locations in the city. Do we have any questions or dialogue around this? All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Howland, support from Commissioner DeShane. Any other questions on this? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you. Resolution 19-516 to approve installation of Consumers Energy LED lighting at the same 13 locations. Any discussion or dialogue around this? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Commissioner Howland,
I'll support.
support from Commissioner Gruders. Any other dialogue on this? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Last on the list, Resolution -19-517. This is the transfer of jurisdiction of Kennewa Avenue from Richmond Street to the south terminus on the, in the city of Walker here. I'm going to take a pause here and just make sure that we're all good with questions, conversation that we had earlier. Commissioner Kent?
Yeah, it's part of Cambridge too, and I was thinking that we would need to do all of it, but we only need to do this part. The other part, I guess, is approved.
The other part will be in the city of Walker as you continue south.
No, I mean of Cambridge too.
Yes, Cambridge 2 is already approved.
Okay. So
They are getting ready for construction. So before they do road construction, we wanted to make sure that we had this, this jurisdiction issue taken care of.
yeah, so that's been approved and this part has not. So
Mm-hmm.
to make, that was a stipulation for that, but we've got to it, so I'm good. Clear as mud.
All right, any other discussion on that? Questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval of Resolution 19-517.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Kent. Do we have a second?
I'll support.
Support from Commissioner DeShane. Any other questions or dialogue on this? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. There is no public, so therefore we cannot have public comment technically. Just kind of splitting hairs there. And then we'll open up with Commissioner and City Manager comments. Let's start, Sarah, we'll start with you.
Just one reminder that Friday morning is a finance committee meeting at 8 a.m. Jessica will be here taking minutes because I have a Bureau of Elections forms and committees meeting that I will be in attendance in Lansing at.
Great, thank you. Anything else?
For my part, we did have the work session on 510 Cummings. That was an exhilarating meeting for all of us, I think. We got certainly our fair share of public feedback, so that was something that we're all, I think, taking in. We're digesting it, and we'll have to plan on how to move forward. That'll be at this point a planning commission issue if we do in fact see an application, but that will be a matter of waiting and seeing at this point. But I think we did do our due diligence in making sure to get out in front with the public and making sure to hear their feedback. The other thing, we did have another ordinance committee meeting. I think a lot of those items are getting ready to go. Some interesting stuff with tree preservation that we're starting to work on. But we'll see all that move forward. Small cell, wireless stuff came up, and that's something that we're also working on. But a lot of what we did there is just kind of codifying what the state laws passed down to us, so.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Glanville?
Yeah, a couple of things. I was at the DDA meeting last week, which was a really good discussion. We talked about streetscaping. We had a chance to interact with the developers of 510 Cummings a little bit. I shared some information with them about the citizen concerns. And I also had a chance there to connect with Pat Gooddale. He has a lot of support for trail tie-ins to his developments. The Gooddales had a lot of positive things come out of the original Standale Trail, and so he's really excited to connect that to Westtown and even maybe further west. And also we talked about what that might look like in Richmond Farms, so I'll have some follow-up with him. And then I was with the Feeding Walker Kids program on Wednesday morning, which was fun. I was really surprised. I didn't realize that they provide 400 meals, and for each kid who gets a meal packet.
Per week.
Yeah, per week. And each kid who gets a packet gets a breakfast, snack pack that has 3 different items in it, some, of varying health. I mean, they're not just cookies, they're getting decent snacks. And then also a dinner. And so they get those 3 things that they take home every weekend, and it's each child. So if a family has 2 or 3 kids, they would get 2 or 3 of those packs, that sort of thing. So they work with all of our Kenowa schools, all the Kenowa elementaries, the West Michigan Science Academy, Walker Charter, and those are the schools that they cover. So their biggest need right now is funding, so to the extent that we can maybe help them make some connections or support that, and I know Roxanne and I had an interesting conversation about that in between meetings tonight, so some good ideas out there. I was also at the Planning Commission meeting then on Wednesday night, which, I thought went really well overall. There was a lot of good hallway conversation. I think, the residents did a nice job in the way they put together their message, and some of them, there was a lot of talk around ways that we might be able to compromise on some of that development. So, and then I just, wanted to follow up, and I think you all saw the email with some of the questions that came up, just to keep track of those things so that we're not losing that momentum, and can report back with some of our citizens. I did want to mention too that I'd heard from a couple of citizens who are in favor of the project, and I think it's worth noting that one of them is a young professional who felt like that's exactly the kind of residential place they want to be, with the access to downtown, and not having to live being able to live in a residential neighborhood as an adult. And have that kind of thing. And another was a single mom who said same thing, to be able to have an apartment like that for her and her kids would be ideal. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there for the record. And then I was at the Police Department Awards on Thursday night, and that was fantastic. It was nice to hear those stories and really understand, what they're doing behind the scenes. I mean, but you don't know until you kind of hear some of that. So it was a really nice event. It was good to be there. And then finally, I just want to thank Sandra, Commissioner Howland, for your support and your service. And it's been lovely working with you. So I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Gruders?
I'm not going to repeat everything that Carol said because she covered it very well, but I'll do also want to say thank you, Sandra, and wish you all the best, and enjoy that wonderful weather.
I will. Thank you.
All right. We'll save you to the end. Commissioner DeShane?
Okay. I too was able to attend the 510 Cummings, and I thought that was great interaction, great hallway talk. I'll say the same as Carol. It's really nice to have a lot of interaction from the community, good or bad. It's good that they're using their voice. I attended the ordinance meeting as well last Friday. I felt there was a lot lot of good, healthy discussion about some of the topics, and kind of excited about the tree portion on that and some other ordinance issues that were topics that we discussed. I had a youth commission meeting this week, and talking about the parade. And us as adults on the committee, we are asking Commissioner Glanville to brainstorm with us, because we need to use some of her inspiration as a teacher, come up with different ways to maybe engage more kids from different schools to participate in this, on this committee. I thought our emergency planning meeting today was very good. Good conversation, and I want to thank Frank for helping with some of the prep work of some of the forms. That's helpful. And then lastly, I want to say that the DeChain family, not just myself, but my husband too, wish you the best, Sandra. Thank you for your years of service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kent?
Well, just about everything's been covered, so.
I know, right?
But, no, I'd like to say thank you to Sandy, and it's been a good experience to have you, and gonna miss you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Walsh?
And I will second that. Thank you, and best wishes to you. Enjoy Texas.
Thank you. My
The
turn.
floor is yours.
All right. Well, I won't make this as long as it started out this morning when I started writing this. So I've condensed it quite a bit. But I want to thank you for allowing me to serve. Elected by citizens is amazing, especially when you get an opportunity to interact with them on a regular basis, whether it be a complaint or a positive thing that, yes, you did this right, and we agree with you. I want to thank all of you for your help, especially Daryl and Frank, and Dan Powers is amazing. DPW, police and fire, and the rest of the commission throughout my tenure with the city. I know that all of you will take care of my city, and make the right decisions. And you've proved to be leaders in each of your own wards, but not only that, but collectively as a group. So I know I'm leaving it in good hands. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Well, I will, I'll open up, I do have hid back here. I don't recognize this, so you can take this with you to Texas for the commissioners from our Memorial Day Parade. We are going to grab your plaque off this evening.
Okay.
So you'll have that. It's tradition as a commissioner leaves office, especially that they can't reuse the plaques, because when you pull the letters off, it pulls away. So it's a perfect, perfect going away gift in that end. So we'll send you off with that respect and dignity. And again, I think when you had shared with us your resignation recently, I'd made a statement that while sometimes we might not have agreed on something, I never felt that we weren't aligned in the best interest of the city. And so on behalf of a very grateful community, thank you. And you will not be forgotten. I'm sure you'll be watching on YouTube while you're sitting in the air conditioning.
Absolutely.
Down there. So, oh, good stuff. So thank you for the years of service. The emergency management planning, I'll gloss over that quick and just say thank you to the department leaders in putting that together. And it did point out, the painful obvious of these things we do have things that affect us from time to time we have to be prepared for. So, and sometimes those come with a price tag as well to make sure that we are taking care of our community. So great dialogue this afternoon around that. The 510 Cummings project, I won't get into the minutia of that and feelings and other than it's amazing. I've lost track of the amount of phone conversations with residents, which doesn't always happen, in the room full of people and so forth. So I think it's great we saw that, and I won't go anything further on that, but just a lot of good dialogue on that. Would just encourage anybody to, as you get the email, feel free to continue to reach out and have conversations with them. As we were at the police awards ceremony the other night, I was reminded of all the untold sacrifices that they make that don't see the public light. And we heard some things the other night that don't always make social media. They don't make the newspaper, the TV stories and so forth. So, it's a tough job, and every time you might get up at 2, 3 in the morning and you think we've got a number of cars out in the street, making sure we sleep safely is a pretty awesome feeling of security that they provide us. So that was good to sit through that the other night. On May 13th, we will be doing a 100-year recognition and proclamation. Love these proclamations lately. I want to thank Sarah for calling this to the attention. Through some of her connections, it was brought up. Andy J. Egan is celebrating their 100th year anniversary this year. And those that don't know that company, they have over 300 employees. Actually, it's over 320 now, I think. And they started to celebrate their 100-year anniversary. They're doing 10 months of giving away $10,000 to a local nonprofit charity. And so every month they give away $10,000. And it's something that the employees were involved with selecting. And you just, when you think of the different types of leadership, there's, we saw servant tonight, we saw authentic, and a lot of things that a lot of the leaders we had in the room are. But when I think of an Andy J. Egan, I think of that servant leadership, and they are there to take care of the community. And I know as a business person, I just think of the principles and how they operate things in their true north, and they do things right. So that's going to be honored to present to the Jasper family on May 13th. So we'll have not only a proclamation similar to tonight. I won't be as long-winded, but we'll make sure we hit those high points. I actually went and met with the family for coffee last week, and I just got some additional insight into really what motivates them and why they serve in the way that they do. And it was absolutely fascinating to listen to. And fourth generation family-owned business too, and to see it continue to grow and so forth. So thank you again, Sarah, for bringing that up. Very appreciated. Excuse me. Second to last thing, we all had a resident on 3 Mile Road that had reached out message regarding the utility and how the yard was tore up. I think everybody got that. So I asked Gary Postma about it this afternoon. This is one I'll help with because apparently we've reached out to said utility and have not got the traction. So I think we need to probably come at it a little bit more direct in getting that resident taken care of. So I will help with this one. Yet going forward, what I'd like to do to further engage the commission is as these come in and you see that they're in your ward, a lot of times we'll get where those commissioners hit that all commissioner button. When you see that they're in your ward, feel free to grab that and jump in. I'm happy to help where I need to. This is one where this has been going on for some time and she's just not getting the results she needs. So this is probably one where not only do I need to get involved with, but I want to get involved with to make sure that that utility takes care of what they need to. But I think from a commissioner standpoint, when we get those, I don't need to dominate those conversations. And one of the representation things that we have as commissioners is taking care of your ward. So I'd like to encourage you when you know that it's, and if you don't know, look it up real quick. Sometimes the street you might not recognize, and that's all right. But I would encourage the commissioners so that it's going to help you with the engagement in helping problem solving and doing the different things. So my encouragement to you is when you see it, you know it's in your ward. We can't have dialogue and discuss things as a group and commission without our public meeting. But I'm just going to assume you're going to jump on it, take care of it. If you need help from me or a department head, just please reach out at that point. So any questions on that?
Is that Jan Ford?
Yes.
So where did you get the address?
I reached back out to her and asked because she had no address. It is, I don't have my email up, but it's.
I guess, I'm thinking, well,
Yeah, I didn't know neither.
I didn't know if it was.
So I shot a message back to her. I said, could you please give me your address and a phone number to be contacted at? I happened to ask Gary Postma this afternoon about it.
Okay.
And he shared, we're well aware of it. We've trying to get all the utility multiple times, and I'll probably just help with that one.
Is that Miller Pipeline?
Possibly,
Gas company?
possibly.
Okay, that's understandable.
Stay tuned, so, yes.
If I may speak,
Please.
also, I know Commissioner DeShane's reached out to me, and you're all welcome to anytime. In fact, with our new QVF refresh, even though we are struggling with it because Bureau of Elections has a lot of work on a new database they're rolling out, but it is cloud-based basically. But even in our office, we can access any resident and address. So 24/7, you can always reach out for an address from us.
Fantastic.
And a name.
Great point. Thank
For any
you.
resident.
Thank you. Can I add one more thing to your Jasper story?
Sure.
So, you had the haunt that was on Waldorf Street for years. Didn't come from a Jasper family member or anything, but it was people parking cars across the street. $2 or whatever they got. I had one of those people inform me that the money they collect, be it a church group, Boy Scouts, whoever, different weeks, that money went to their organization. The Jasper family didn't keep it. They furnished the parking lot, but you do the work, you get the money.
And they had a lot of people park across the street because of the parking challenges and the haunt and the turnout in those years, so.
And, it's like, to me, that says good people, I mean, it's the Jasper family, that says a lot to me.
And you just think about the, refer to that True North and the principles, their guiding principles as not just as a company, but as people, in how they treat their employees. It was actually, a coffee, we'd set aside 30 minutes, I think ended up being about an hour and a half just listening, so it's pretty fascinating. So it's another great story. I think that'll be a good one to share with them next week. We'll embarrass them or on the 13th, we'll embarrass them a little bit. So.
Like I said, it didn't come from them, but I was told that,
That's pretty neat. Yeah.
No, but that's what, the guy's parking cars, and I was out walking the dog, and we stopped and visited.
Well, and you think about it, 320 employees, they're giving away $100,000. That's a lot of cash. That's a lot of operating margin and so forth, but that's that selfless leadership they have, so it's pretty solid. All right, so.
Excuse me, Mayor?
Yes, sorry.
Just real quick, I was not on that email.
You were not?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't know if the.
I'll be happy, I'll share it with you
They went
directly.
through one by one and grabbed all the old, Mark's Walker City email was on there. So they they went.
So it was the
grabbed
person
old-
who sent it? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was forwarded from somebody. Okay, so
Yep.
that's. I just
I'll
wanted
share
to
it
make
with you
sure
for
I'm on the list.
visibility,
Sure.
but,
Yep.
but I think going forward, so the commission's good with, that'll kind of be our standard operating procedure, and it's gonna help you with engagement with your constituents you represent, and just help with a number of things there. And I think last but not least, just again, thanks for indulging. I know there was, might have been a little choppy with all the things going on, but those are the neat things that we do, and to see a retiring president with tears in his eyes, it's a pretty neat thing. You make an impact. So thanks again. Any other questions, comments for the good of the order?
So was that?
I have,
Yes?
go ahead.
Was that complaint the first word or second?
I haven't looked up the address yet.
Jan 4.
Depends where it's at on 3. I'll look up here when we adjourn.
No, just curious, sorry, thank you.
Yes.
I just had one other thing. The Community Relations Committee, excuse me, did meet, and everybody was introduced and they shared. Commissioner Glanville was there. But it's established for June 6th at 6 p.m. if anybody wants to go. It's going to be an idea session, and the mayor's going to be at this one.
Nice. Nice.
So that's all.
And then our next, actually, sorry, I did see one thing on here. Our next piece will be the third ward candidate interviews on May 6th.
I get to be
I forgot
here.
I should have mentioned that. So it'll be Monday night, May 6th. We're tentative starting time at 4 o'clock. Stay tuned on that, depending on how many we have coming in. So we have a couple in right now, probably some more expected in.
Since Throughout today, we now have a total of 4.
Okay,
Do you know who they are?
Not by memory
okay. So up to 4 then. Good, okay.
so far.
All right, good. All right, I'll take a motion. Would you like your last evening to
I
make a
would
motion to
like to
adjourn?
make a motion for my last one.
Thank you. We have a motion from Commissioner Howland. Any support?
I'll support.
Support from our partner in the third ward. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.